Hello everyone, welcome on CGStream with Alice and Alex, and we're happy to introduce you our today's guest, Arthur Bozonnet. Hi.
Hey guys.
Alex,
Nice.
you can say
hi.
Yeah, and we start with our kind of standard question. Please tell us how you became artist. When did you decide to, make it your career? Everything about this. Just short story.
Short story. Okay. Well, I think like all of us, I painted since I'm a kid, but I started taking it a little bit more seriously around 15, I guess. But still, just drawing, not even colors, just like pencil drawings, and then ink on top of it. I really enjoyed manga and stuff like that. So that's what I would do. I really was pretty scared of colors actually. And then when I was 19, I got my first tablet. It was a Wacom Intros 3, and then I took it a little more seriously, started dabbing in colors and stuff. And but then I when I was 21, I went to China for a year, first to study Chinese, because actually I didn't graduate any art school or anything. I went to a language school, and it was just a hobby at the time. So with the advice of my parents, I was focusing on languages and more reasonable career goals and stuff like that. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay.
Don't worry.
Okay. So I graduated when I was 21, and then I went to China initially to keep going with the languages. But actually, once I was there, I found I met some people who were art students, and they hooked me up with their local art department, their local university. So the next year, the second year in China, I spent studying illustration in a very nice studio. It was in Sichuan, which is in the center of China, and actually I don't know how much time there is for the introduction. I'm not sure if I can go into details or keep it short. Do I have enough time to? Do I have time to go into detail or?
Sure. No, it's just, because sometimes people can speak for hours, for 2 hours, they just say okay, I become artist when I was 10, and then when I was 11, and when I was 12, and when I was 13, and when I was 14, just, in general, not you don't have to tell us the story, but just keep in mind that we have around 2 hours for the stream.
No problem. Yeah, it's not going to be so. Yeah. I went to this very nice studio, very nice guy, and then after that I went to Thailand to be with a girl actually that I met. She was from Thailand. I met her in China, and so I went to Thailand to live with her at the time, and that's where I got my first job in the industry. I was hired by a Studio Hive. It still exists. It's in Bangkok, and I was a junior illustrator there. And but later became, I stayed there 2 years and a half. I became senior illustrator, senior artist, and then art director. And then I left. And then I came back to France because I'm French. And I was a freelancer for 2 years. So that was 2 years ago. And then I came to Japan, where I'm now. And now I open a company with my partner, my girlfriend, Zina, who is from China. And who is here too with me. She's on the opposite side of the room. And we opened a company last May. That's it.
The end.
Yeah.
Okay, you can tell about your first job in the industry. So just tell us how you started and work in the Blizzard and stuff like this.
Blizzard, okay. So this company that I used to work at, it was a subcontracting company, an outsourcing company. So we received job from bigger clients, mostly Japanese companies, and sometimes overseas companies from the US. And I started working on Blizzard through them actually. They would receive work from Blizzard and they would send it to me. but it was indirect. Like I wasn't in direct contact with anybody at Blizzard. But when I left the studio, I still wanted to work with them, with Blizzard. So I started actually going on the internet. I searched every artist that worked on Hearthstone because I already worked a little bit on it. And I found, you can find a way to contact people, either through ArtStation or sometimes you find their email address in some database or something. And I contacted everybody and said, guys, I've been working before through another studio, and I would like to work as a freelancer this time. Could you hook me up with the art director? Here's my pictures, to show that that I really did that. And they were very kind. Like everybody just put me in touch with the art directors, and that's how I kept going. But it started as an indirect job through another studio, which is what I recommend actually for younger artists, is to, instead of trying to make the jump from student, home self-student to full freelancer, I advise to go to a studio first, to learn how to become more professional, and it's also very useful to learn techniques. And through a mid-sized studio, for example, like the one I was at the time, you can really get access to much higher clients than you would if you were just by yourself. Oh yeah, just one story maybe. Like when I started working directly with Blizzard, first the art director for Hearthstone, for the outsourcing of Hearthstone, because there's a lot of in-house artists, right? Like people who work at Blizzard directly, salary at Blizzard, right? But there's also like a lot of freelance artists who work on Hearthstone, and that's what I do. So the art director for the freelance artists, I think, first, before putting me to work on Hearthstone directly, he wanted to test me a little bit, and he asked me to work for one of his friends who's an art director in another company. At the time, he was at Beachhead Studio, so I had to first help out this guy on another project, and if it would turn out okay, I would get some work for Blizzard, which happened. So I was pretty happy with that. It was a good motivation too. Yeah, that's it.
Okay, that's great. I don't know. Should we start from drawing? So do you want to answer on some questions? Because we'll continue to ask you questions while.
Oh yeah, no problem.
I don't know if we have any kind of program for the day. Did you prepare anything?
Yeah, we have. Actually, we have, and Arthur shows me a really amazing illustration in his Photoshop, so you can just show it to our viewers.
Yeah, you just can
tell
the guys. Yep. You just can tell the guys, everyone who's listening us right now, what you're going to show us today and what we're going to do during the next 2 hours.
Okay, so what I would like to do is, show you my process and explain a bit what I do. And I also would like to share with you guys a tool that I made on SketchUp. It's to visualize perspective, because I had very serious problems with perspective before. And when I started working at the studio, I was really confronted to it very brutally. So I had to, study it very hard, which is not seen as very necessary when you're an illustrator. More maybe when you're a concept artist. But anyway, so here's my tool, and I will share I don't know how I can share. I can share the link, like a Google Drive link to this thing. It's a perspective visualizer. I don't know if you can see that.
Mm-hmm.
Does it show on the stream?
Yep, a lot of lines and.
Okay, you can see that. Okay, so what I do, for example. Okay. So it's something to devise any perspective grid you need, basically. And from the outside, it looks like this. Can you see? Like, is it when I speak? Is it in real time with the?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So, right, like a perspective is actually is only made of 6 vanishing points at all times, right? There's one, like, for example, because we represent space in how to say, in perpendicular lines, right? It's the easiest way to visualize it, a plane, right? So there's a vanishing point in the front, and that's the vanishing point in the back. Actually, it's it's pretty straightforward, I think. And one in the left, one in the right, one up and one down. So that's about it. And this ball here represents our eye, like our point of view within this. It doesn't work if you get away from it, because suddenly now, it's the illusion is broken. It doesn't work anymore. It doesn't really suggest anything precise. It only works. The illusion is only valid if you're as close as possible to the ball, which represents the eye. So another tool that's pretty useful is the what is it called? Sorry for that. Field of view, right? Field of view. And it's basically the lens of the camera. Can you see this?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So it distorts, very more or less dramatically the wider the lens. And basically what I do, like anytime I paint something, I make up I select a point of view in this tool, then I hide this front, so I'm left with just the perspective that I need. I take a screen capture, I put it in Photoshop, and that's it. Like, you can pretty much paint from this, or, well, first of course maybe I have this this file here. It's a very simple file with like a vanishing point in it, and you can from there just reproduce the vanishing point that you desire. It's a very effective, very quick way of designing a perspective grid.
Do you always use 3D in your works, or it's just for this picture?
For this picture.
Mm-hmm.
I don't use, I mean 3D is just for, I don't really use 3D, it's just for this vanishing point in particular. Like this tool, I use it, like I have this model, but otherwise I prefer hand painted. I'm really not good at all at 3D. I don't know, how about you guys? Do you use 3D?
Okay.
Do you use 3D?
Yes, just no, I don't use it. To be honest, it just depends on the artist, because some of them says like, okay, 3D is the future, and if you don't use it, you are, I don't know, a dinosaur or something like that. And some others says like just the classic one, painting stuff. Yeah, just that's why I'm asking, because our subscribers are also interested if you use it like, from time to time, or it's the standard pipeline, or it's just something that you use for this work in particular. So I decided to ask you this question.
No, I don't use 3D at all. But I mean, yeah, 3D is very good for when you need to, I think for concept art, it must be very useful. For illustration, I mean, I like the idea of figuring out stuff by myself, and I don't know. It's a skill. There's a thrill in developing your skill, like your observation, and there's a taste to it, like a certain, it's the last bit of analogic input you can put, in a digital medium. It's your own perception of space. When you need to produce concept art very quickly, I think it's a no-brainer that you need 3D, because your clients pay you to be as fast as possible, especially if you're a salaried person, if you're in a company. But if you're a freelancer, you can, especially an illustrator, I think it's not necessary. I mean, I've done without it, and I earn, I work for good clients, and work, I have a nice flow, I think. I'm able to work enough to earn a living. Okay, so
yeah, I was just thinking that this kind of grid is quite difficult to construct, because I think sometimes you can make it maybe easier or faster. I don't know, drawing with hands, but I think it depends on the composition and the complexity of the work itself, like how many, I don't know, people, person, characters are not described, imagined on the picture, things like that. That's why I'm just looking at this, and that's why I'm trying to understand if you use 3D and if you use this grid with, what kind of next steps will be. And Robert, you'll tell us.
Sure, yeah. Of course. Yeah. So, okay. This is my perspective grid on this piece, if you can see it. Can you see it? Does it read clearly? Okay. So that's it. Then what I do is I have here, like I have a book. I have it on my desk. I could show you if I put on the camera. It's basically like poses and stuff. It's from a book, a Japanese book that I really like. There's like tons of poses from a lot of angles. I also use this. What is it? Where is it? Oh, here. Art Pose Pro. I'm not gonna launch it because it's most likely gonna crash. It's not very stable on Mac, I think. But it's basically an art doll that you can pose in any different way, in any way you want, which is very, very handy. I didn't use it for this picture. For this picture, I used only poses from this book that I just rotate, in the proper, because this perspective here is not from the book either. So it's something I like to figure out. Like when I have a pose, I say, okay, what would it look like from a slightly different angle? And it's a nice challenge. And for the faces, I use photo reference from, like you just search fat guy, whatever, guys like that. And for the face of this dude here, the main character, it's actually the face of a doll. Like I don't know if you know Hot Toys. They're like super realistic 6-inch figures, like of famous pop culture icons. Like you have all the video game characters, any video game characters you can imagine, actors, anything, anybody famous has pretty much been made into a 6-inch doll, very realistic sculpture from this company. And I bought a few heads, like female, male heads, and I use them as models. I take pictures and draw from reference from them.
If you wouldn't mind, we will ask you all the links, materials, titles, names for all those who are listening us right now, just so they can find them later on. And just for those who are listening us, just don't worry. We will try to get all these, treasures and try to get the link to the description of the video. So check them later.
So, I can send you a link right now if you want. On Discord.
Yeah, sure. Just don't think about this later. I will make you give them all to me after the stream when it's just convenient for you. So don't worry.
So these are the head sculpts. They're very, very realistic, very useful. So yeah, that's it. I put them under the light that light that I set up myself and take a few pictures, and that's enough usually to start from there. I also use composition tools like golden spirals that are useful to create a flow. As you can see.
Wow.
I have a few tools like these are diagonals. Those are pretty classic, academic tools, these diagonals. It's basically like a square with diagonals, and one is, stuck to the left side and one is stuck to the right side. And together they create this sort of, pretty nice, it's very academic, but it's still useful, I think. It's actually very useful. What else do I have? Just some grids. Those are, this is a grid based on golden spirals. So just continues and dissects endlessly this, the golden mean of every section in this picture. What else? Those are all spirals, I think. And a few things that I don't really use. Okay. So that's it. And also, I don't know about you guys, but I have a pretty hard time to color things from black and white. Mm-hmm. So what I do is I create this gradient map that you can create here on Photoshop, gradient map. And these basically in this you can set up basically a set of colors that will affect anything from black to white. Like the first color is black and the top color is white, and anything in between will be affected by the colors you set up. So you can put bright red, and that's how it will affect anything this dark in this spectrum will be actually transformed, turned into red, for example. Stuff like that, and that starts me painting right away in color. That kind of breaks off right away the black and white discomfort, and it makes it easier to color later. So yeah, today I was working on it on the cape. I was trying to make some sort of nice flowing thing. Basically this dude is jumping. The story, the piece is called The Sorcerer's Envoy, so it's some sort of, half magical or something, arcane sort of messenger from a sorcerer, which I imagine is the enemy of this fat dude here, who was busy sleeping with these two chicks. And so basically it's a death toll pretty much. It's these guys come here to execute this fat, I guess, authority figure, this lord or whatever, this corrupt leader, I guess. And those are his bodyguards, who are I'm gonna make them in some ridiculous suits to give some sort of comic aspect to it. But this guy here, this by contrast, this superhero guy, I really want to make him very badass, very enigmatic, very fantasy-like character, with some sort of flair, some sort of nice occult sort of flair, very dark, brooding, not totally human. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And now I'm working in some sort of cape. I don't know if it's gonna be a cape or some sort of, maybe it's gonna be one of the curtains, who knows, that is just busted as he come into the room. Yeah, it's gonna be that, I think, just a cape.
So it was a question from our chat. How you started living in Japan?
How did I start living in Japan?
Yes.
Okay. Well, I saved up a little bit, like because when I was in France, I was a freelancer. I had my own little apartment. I was sharing a flat with a friend, and but I really wanted to go to Japan because I had already visited it one time 3 years before, and that was kind of my goal. Like within 3 years to be able to go there. And there are you can go there I went there on a long-term, like on a, not long-term, what it's called, like a 1-year working holiday visa. Not every country can do it. It's a few countries that have it with Japan, but it basically extends your stay up to 1 year as a tourist, and you can also work there, part-time job. And but you can also go there, of course, just on a regular tourist visa, which is 3 months, I think, for most countries. And once I was there, I tried to meet as many people as possible, as quickly as possible. I met mostly foreigners, actually, because Japanese are pretty, I don't know, they have a kind of a shy tendency towards foreigners, I think. Not all of them, but that has been my feeling. And also that's what a lot of my foreign friends told me too. So after a while, I was not surprised to meet only foreigners. And then that's how I met my current girlfriend, who's also my partner for this company, and we decided to stay here, and to renew our visas. We started the company because my 1 year holiday visa, it can be done only one time. Okay.
The next question is, you use actually the golden ratio, the rule of thirds in your artworks, and the gradient maps. Do you have personal secrets in paintings, and what is it?
Personal secret?
Yes, or personal techniques, stuff like this.
Technique? I use. Well, it's not really a technique. It's just. It's just that I'm pretty strict with the perspective, and it helps me a lot with lighting, too. And it's just a thing that I don't see many people use, and I think it takes a while to get used to it. But once you're used to it, it makes you paint much more quickly, because you don't spend time fixing things. You see, when you don't use a perspective grid, you always relate objects between each other. So you will paint first a character or a face with a certain light hitting from an angle, and that's nice. And then you paint maybe the arm, but you compare with the face, but then maybe a detail in the arm, you'd like to paint it another way. Like you're not subject to one standard. It's all like everything is related to each other, and things are likely to change this way. Like you always want to paint something a certain way and another thing another way, and they don't really relate to each other. But if you have perspective to anchor that stuff, then it's much more, it's much easier. But that's my, Another secret, I guess, is this. It's just the golden ratio, which is, it's a very nice way of implementing a flow to a picture, and the closer you stay towards this sort of thing, the more you pay attention to it, the more your piece will look harmonious, dynamic, interesting, and it will also tie into previous pieces made by other people, by other artists, especially the great artists of all time. They've all used this stuff, so by default, if you really follow closely this stuff, your piece will look a bit more classy and nice, and it's an extra thing, an extra plus for your piece, I think. And it can also be used for design, because when you display character design, whatever concept design, if you display it according to this golden ratio, it already looks better. Like it already looks. It's just a part of displaying things. I'm going to show you another piece I was working on. It's this little dude here. So that's something I really like to do. Most of my work for freelance is for card games, and I sketch a lot. I really like sketching on Photoshop. I have a few brushes that I will share with you guys, stuff that, like custom-made brushes. One is this it's this shape. I don't know. It's a very nice brush. I like it. I made it a few years ago, and I still use it. So as you can see, when I use when I sketch, I also sketch in perspective. I already set up perspective, and this way you can really plot everything properly, everything correctly. It doesn't really take forever to judge how smaller this arm should be compared to that one. You just compare the size of the area where they are in. Right? You just compare lines, and it gives you the relative size of everything. So that's I guess the secret. And another secret it's not a secret, it's just it might be super obvious for most people, but especially nowadays the game art is super like lines are not like this anymore. They're not like, you know, squiggly and like noodles. Everything is pretty much a curve, and it's a succession of curves actually, and especially small, big, small, you know, rhythm curves. If you see the art of Overwatch, Hearthstone, and you know, all the contemporary popular games, all their art is very like pretty firm, strong curves one after another. If you can put that into your art, you know, you will definitely catch the eye of a client, I think. I don't know, what do you think?
So, do you hear me? Yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's great. So thank you for the answer. If Alice turn on her microphone and it works, it will be great. And I just checked some questions. You just can work with your painting and just answering some things about your artwork. So give me 5 seconds. I just check the questions. Mm-hmm. Oh, this about your computer, what tablet you work with, and what OS you work with it, and you need you can just talk about this. Sorry.
Okay. I use a MacBook. iMac, 21.5 inches, and my tablet is a Wacom Intuos 5 large. So the ratio between my tablet and my screen is almost 1-to-1. Not exactly, but it's as close as possible, which I really like. It makes for, if the ratio is close to 1-to-1, it's the length of the stroke compared to the stroke on the screen is most likely to be the same, and it makes for a more natural approach. But some people don't like it. Some people really enjoy having a smaller tablet, like my partner. She enjoys having like a smaller. She has like I think a medium tablet, but the same screen as I do, so it makes for a more, you know, telescopic sort of strokes. It's a matter of comfort, I guess. And there was something else, right? Like a screen and also the tablet and something else.
Yeah, sure. And when I was back to your painting, so how you create the color on your paintings? You told us about the gradient maps, and next step is the adding the color. How you do it?
Well, okay. If I go back on this, on top of the gradient map, you can start like you can make a new layer in color mode, and then with a soft brush, you can just paint in gray, sorry, and you can see it will add like very interesting complementary colors. Can you see?
Yes.
Okay, so this way it's a good way to start implementing complementaries. You see, I'm only using actually like white. I mean, it as a in color it just looks gray. So, but because the whole piece is greenish, it looks kind of purple, right? It's a weird purpley gray, which gives you like by default like it's an illusion of complementary color. And it's very nice to see like, okay, the face is gonna be kind of like that. But then what I use for the pieces, like for the Hearthstone pieces, let me open a few. Okay, so on these ones, the way I color is I start with flat colors, I like really super flat, and then I just put in the shadows and everything. So on this guy, for example, I would put this like a basic silhouette for the guy, and then I will add some colors, some super flat colors. I paint them in with with a marker, sort of brush. I like to go like step by step. I'm kind of slow like this, I guess, but it's really, I don't know. It works fine for me. And I like to, like one thing that's important is to find colors that kind of contrast properly with each other. You don't want everything to be kind of orangey, or unless it's really your purpose, but otherwise it's nice to have like something like highly contrasting. And there's nothing so serious really about these colors. They're pretty, they're all over the place. I like to find like really crazy colors, because in the end they help like make the piece, look more interesting. Like, for example, this character doesn't exist at all. Like nothing in this piece exists at all, right? Like this is a fictitious character on fictitious mushrooms with a weird like fantasy spell in his hands. All the colors are out of place, but because it was painted in perspective and with a very strict attention to the direction of the lighting, you can really paint in any color. It doesn't matter, as long as it's as long as it obeys to good rules of physics. It's it's all good. Like this doesn't exist. Like it's nothing about it makes sense, but it's all kind of logical. It's all like painted in as logical a way as possible. So got the colors on top. Okay, and there's you see that's the thing now, because of the perspective. You see the vertical lines on the perspective, they can indicate like a daylight, like overcast daylight, for example. now, because you have a very strict view on, exactly where the line falls, you can be sure that, for example, everywhere where the vertical line touches, every surface that the vertical line touches, there's a highlight. Let me just, somewhere. Okay, I'll just remove it. Okay. Here's a highlight, there's a highlight. Everything that's touched as close to 90 degree, as possible by a vertical line, then you can be sure it's a highlight, given that the light comes straight from the sky in this case. Does it make sense?
Yes.
And by opposition, of course, the shadow is the same. Everything that is away from this will be hidden by everything that is away from the light, which is clearly visible with the vertical lines. You will become shadows. And you can play a lot with bounce lights and other, but because everything is pretty strictly grounded, then it's very easy to see exactly where light hits and where it doesn't. Is there any other question?
Yeah, sure. We have some questions. First of all, the question is, in your opinion, what qualities should have the lead artist when you're working with giants like Blizzard and stuff like this, and company like this? What qualities should have lead artist?
A lead artist?
Yes, or lead artist or eye director. How do you think?
Well, I'm not an art director at all, so or a lead artist. So I'll guess from my experience, but to working with these guys, you have I don't know, you have to be like it's two different things though. Like a lead artist and an art director are really different. An art director, you need to be super clear and so very clear about what you want. You need very specific cues, very specific indications and reference that you give to your artists. You cannot just leave them in the with vague assertions. I want something kind of Batmanish, a little bit kind of darkish kind of thing. Like if it's too vague, you will really confuse everybody. For a lead artist, I'm thinking, but I don't know, just be better than not lead artist, I guess. I mean,
can you hear me now at least?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah.
Finally. I'm really sorry, I just don't know. I just checked the internet connection, the microphone settings, and the Discord itself, just black magic.
Okay. But in general, to be a professional artist, you need to be very reliable. Don't mess up with deadlines. Also, because there's a thing that because you work indirectly with people. If you're a freelance artist, if you work from home, there's this idea of maybe they don't really know, and maybe you can hide certain things, and you can make certain excuses. I tried, blah blah blah, I lost the file, blah blah blah. You can make a lot of. It can be tempting to kind of blur the communication a little bit to kind of save your ass, but in my experience, it doesn't work at all. Art directors and lead artists are always 10 steps ahead of you, more experienced than you and everything. So the more honest, the better. If you lost a file, if you messed up something, if you didn't understand something, it saves everybody's ass if you say it first thing.
I actually not sure where did I see it, but I'm pretty sure it was some kind of discussion in designers chat. But I think we can discuss it here as well, because art directors, they're mostly not even artists or, I don't know, 3D artists and stuff, but they're more like managers for the team. And the problem is that for creative paths, for creative careers, so you begin as an artist, then you, I don't know, get senior artist, the lead artist, I don't know, all this stuff. But when you become an art director, you mostly manage the team, you mostly manage the assets, manage, I don't know, the drawings and stuff, and you don't draw that much. And as far as I know, for some creatives, it's not what they want it to be.
Sure.
And what do you think? Is there a problem of being a creative and being a creative, in the industry when you don't know how to? I'm not sure how to ask about this. How to make it clear, like.
So you mean like,
you can, of course.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, just 1 second. Of course, you can. You can be an art director and draw as a hobby in your free time. But for most of the people, they don't want to become art directors because they enjoy mostly, the process of the drawing or the painting of all this creative stuff. And what do you think? Is it a problem, or is it just you have to go and create your own studio, but it's also a lot of stuff
it's
connected to the business?
I mean, it's a choice, but it's pretty risky. The moment you stop using your skill, you have to be aware. It can be a problem. Like, for example, we were talking about this. It's a real problem. We were talking about this with my partner before, not too long ago. That one of our former colleagues. Became, I think, an art director or in this sort of manager position in a Chinese company, and years went by, and he could see his skills decrease, and finally he was let go of the company, and now he's just back on the market with no choice but to work these skills back up. So it can be tempting as a cushy job, especially, I mean, when you're very young, you don't care. You just want to be an artist, and that's all. But I think, at some point in your life, when you want to be settled and, you might be a little bit challenged by the competition or something, or by the change of techniques or something, it might be tempting to become a director like this, or to accept a more, to distance yourself from painting and in a company. But then, if you lose your job, then that's it. You're kind of fucked. I mean, it's... I don't want to. Yeah. We're not there yet, but that's something I'm super conscious about, and I really, I'll try to delay as much as possible the art director milestone. But it is a problem for sure. But you don't have to become an art director. Nobody, you can stay completely creative, like Craig Mullins, I guess, or people like this who are older than us, but still fully creative.
Sure. Well, actually, I was thinking about that. It's not only connected to the creative fields, because when you're a programmer, some people can say that it's a creative field as well. At least I think so, because I know how some people coding, and that's probably just, I don't know, the way how the business works. So that's probably okay. The guys with the most skills, they can just sit in the chairs, say like, okay, and now make another.
Yeah. But there's also, I realized, I remember when I was at the former studio, there was at some point one art director who wasn't an artist at all. And that was a bit frustrating because it didn't feel legitimate in a way. You feel a little bit, how this person doesn't know, like, how can I get, orders and direction from a person who has never really held a pencil, for drawing. It can be a bit frustrating. So it's always better when the art director is, as renowned an artist as possible. Even if he's from a previous generation, even if he doesn't really paint anymore, if it has if the art director has a good background, a solid background that can inspire the artist who works for him, then it's the legitimacy question is solved, I think, That's what we can hope for.
So is it more important to have, well, from my perspective, for art director, it's more important to have maybe a vision, a strategy in some point of the, I don't know, whatever work you're doing, the game, the movie, or I don't think it's even a technique, because those guys who are now concept artists and lead artists, they can do the rendering for the art director. So he's some kind of the guy who's in search of the idea which will sell the product mostly, right?
Right, yeah. As an art director, I think mostly you try to make sure all the artists adhere to a common standard, right? Like that all the guidelines are followed the same way, so not everything looks different. So I think, you just spend most of your time, herding cats, pretty much, like trying to pull cats together into it.
Yeah.
No, stay here. I swear to God, please stay here.
Okay, so let's don't talk about the art directors, because most of the guys who's listening to us right now are just the beginners. I suppose so, at least. If not, I'm pretty sure we need to make a poll at one of the streams just to make sure. Some more tips on drawings, like now we're making the shadows and it's popped up, and it's now it has the volume, the
right. The values.
It looks like. Yes, values. I'm sorry. It's so hard to speak English here in Russia.
Oh, yeah.
I'm still Dutch with the accent.
Okay, so now I'm going to show you another tip that's pretty useful. I was holding it for a little bit later. Let's see if I have it.
I don't know. Should we make?
No, it's fine. Really, it's not that. Okay. So is to use vanishing points in order to simulate the direction of the light source. For example, before what I've been painting so far was just light coming from the sky, right? Straight down, right? By the way, there's a shadow, cast shadow you can put here. Sorry. Okay. There's the light coming from straight up, right? And now, let's say I want another light source, and I want it coming from here. As you can see, the light has been set. You can keep the perspective on if you want, because it's still pretty useful. And basically what you do is, okay, you have your light here, like it can be a light bulb, whatever, let's make it a light bulb. And now everywhere where this, the vanishing point represents the direction of the light rays. And everywhere, on every surface, when it hits 90 degrees, you paint a highlight. So you see at 90 degrees on this horn here, 90 degrees, you have a highlight. Actually, I prefer to paint with soft brushes.
Magic.
Yeah. Oh yeah, by the way, this is another trick. It's a gradient map too, still a gradient map. In this color. So it basically simulates like from the dark, from black to white. It's gonna go through all the warms that the warm electric light would go through. So warm orange towards the yellow, towards the colder yellow. And what you do, to create this lighting, okay, let's do it again. Let's do it on in a brand new way. You fill a layer, you create a new layer, fill it in black, and turn this layer into linear dodge. It's right here. Okay, linear dodge is a blending mode that has the property of showing everything but the black. That's why now it became invisible, right? Now, on top of it, you create a gradient map. Now you fill this gradient map with all the warm colors we talked about. So some nice warm orange here. Some lighter, some yellow thing here. I guess that's about it. We can try like this for first, and you can always, change later. You group it onto this linear dodge black layer. Now it's clipped onto this layer, right? In between them, I know it sounds weird, technical, whatever, but now that's it. The third step and final step is to create a new layer sandwiched between the black layer and the gradient map. And now you just paint in white. And what it does, I'm only using white, but now everywhere I paint, it goes through all the gradients, colors that we make up in this layer, in the gradient map layer. And when you change, actually, you can see it change in real time, which is very nice to make adjustments. So you see, you're painting white. For example, if we turn this normal, this linear dodge layer, if we turn it normal, you can see already what's happening. I'm just painting white spots on the black layer. And if I clip a gradient map on top of it, it will affect the colors under it. Like it will affect all the values under it and turn them into the warms and everything that we decided. Now I can turn all this in a transparent way by making it a linear dodge, which will mask all the blacks and show only these light spots. And now using the vanishing point here as a light source, I can create highlights everywhere. Like everywhere where you see a line that hits a surface at 90 degrees, there you go, you have a highlight. Here, right behind the head, there's a highlight. Actually, the ear might mask till here. Anyway, so that's it, and that's how I paint everything like this. All this blue here, this blue rim light was also made with a gradient map and a vanishing point. What else? This here too. There was one vanishing point here with a gradient map in purples, and I used it to make this. It shows you very precisely where the light hits, so it makes the painting look even more, logical and grounded. So this coupled with the perspective makes every painting look like it belongs, like it's like it makes sense. You can even, like in this painting here, you can even see pretty much like I just traced the vanishing point to make some sort of like a misty moonlight rays like that. And because of the vanishing point hitting exactly like everything precisely, I could see exactly which tiny surface was hit at 90 degrees, which wasn't. And when you go like this for a whole piece, it's very trouble-free to make something. You don't have to calculate with your eyes and like be, oh, is it wrong? Something's wrong, something's up, but I'm not sure why. You can see very clearly where the light comes from and where it's supposed to go. So what else? Yeah, same for this guy here. Same for this little dude here. So yeah, I use for this, in this instance, you can even see in the vanishing point with the raindrops. in this corner here. Like I really traced it pretty, blankly, like pretty directly. And it helped me decide also, okay, so it means that, all this is lit and because of the beak, right? Because of the surface of the beak. It's very methodical, I guess, and it makes for very reliable, very stable, almost predictable outcomes, and it's very, very comfortable for an art director. When you can produce pieces that are all like logical, there's nothing weird, nothing wrong, nothing vague. It's all very straightforward. He can quickly say, "Oh yeah, nice light, but I want it this way," or and he can tell. If he knows that you can really select, that you can implement any light source you want, he has no problem, asking you for a new light somewhere, for change of ambience, atmosphere. And because it's very straightforward, the result is very clear. And our director, how to say, because when you don't use this, when you only use your flair, your feeling kind of thing, it can make for, like, I mean, if you're a pro, that's fine. Like you don't need anything else. But when you're a student, or when you're like kind of a beginner guy, and something is wrong with your piece, but you don't know why, even an art director, if it's too vague and too messy, it can be like, dude, I don't know exactly what is wrong, but the whole light feels kind of weird. It's kind of flat.
I don't believe it kind of stuff, right?
Sorry, what?
Just, I don't believe this kind of thing, right?
Right.
For the art director.
Yeah. So.
Cool.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, I can go on with this dude here. Now there's a problem, right? Because without perspective, I don't know if this light here, I don't know if it's way back over there. Wait a second. You don't know if it's way behind this dude, or if it's like in front of him. Like it could be in front of him. Like there's no space. It's not fixed in space, this light. You cannot decide. You just decide where you want it to be. And when you have a perspective grid, you can actually fix this in space. So for example, if we decide that the foot of this kid, right, this guy here, it's on this vertical line at the juncture between these two lines here. It goes up, and let's say just above him, or no, let's put it in front of him. You can see it's right here. And right here above. Now this is our light source. Now clearly, because of the perspective, we can see exactly where the light source is. So if I put my vanishing point, sorry, I need to find it again. Okay. I put it here. Now I get a much more precise. Okay. Sorry, I'm just making a few adjustments to make it clear. Okay. Can delete this place, this thing. Or we can keep the bottom just to make sure, so we know where it comes from. Now we have a very clear idea of where it is. We know it's just in front of his face, so it's gonna hit also at 90 degrees everywhere, but in a slightly different way now. I'm sure it's weird and confusing maybe, but just give it a try. Like the more you use it, the more you'll be comfortable with it. But this, I think, should help. Like it helped me so much that I'm sure I won't be the only one to be helped by this. What do you think?
Oh, Alice is here. I'm here because I'm here. Oh, the next step is actually I checked the questions. For all this time, I work with my internet provider because my internet is stopped working in the alpha of the stream. So just run in the panic and find someone to kill. Okay. Let's next step. Next step is the post effects in Photoshop. Can you tell us about the effects of the post production of the paintings in Photoshop? Maybe give some advice about this and stuff like that.
Post-production? I'm not sure I understand.
Yeah, when picture is finished, what maybe personal tricks you do with the image, maybe color tricks, maybe some kind of ambient occlusions, some kind of maybe texture, just textures, your paintings, things like this.
No, it's pretty much...
Maybe you just use the monochromatic aberration.
No, I don't know. It's pretty much straightforward. I mean, especially for these pieces that are, it's kind of cartoony. It's not. There's no need for elaborate textures really. And for Hearthstone in particular, they just tell me to like leave like brush strokes evident, no texture, no copy paste texture, nothing too artificial. They like to see the kind of hand aspect of it. So. Yeah, it's pretty straightforward. It's just like digital painting there's not so much post-production in play. Yeah.
I hear the Alice microphone.
Finally, I just don't know what's happening. Just it turns on and off, and I don't even do anything actually. I don't know what's the problem.
Maybe some person is cursed the stream. I don't know.
Who knows? Maybe. Who knows? Well.
Yeah. So that's. I mean, to your question, I didn't know. I'm not really using any tricks, post-production tricks. It's all. These are the main tricks I use. Like, I mean, that's it really. Like, I don't really. I just adjust and keep painting. Then, like, if I'm satisfied with the lighting here, for example, I'll just merge everything down on the character and just like paint just the character, like paint from there. I don't like to have too many layers, pending.
I wanted to ask something that I already forgot because I'm watching on the lights, on all the magic happening on the screen.
Yeah. Is it making sense, the technique aspect or whatever? Like, you can repeat anything. If somebody didn't understand the process for the setting up this lighting, would be.
If people want, we can ask questions from the chat. So, just a second. Ребят, если вы хотите задать какие-то вопросы, задавайте их в чате, мы обязательно прочитаем, особенно те, которые в суперчате на Ютубе. Так что не стесняйтесь. Actually, about the searching for ideas and things like that, how do you work with art directors when they ask you for not the order?
Okay.
I forgot the word.
Sure.
I'm sorry.
That's right.
Yes, thank you.
They usually have, like, especially for like Hearthstone and stuff like that, it's super elaborate worlds and stuff. So they have like all the reference and everything. They just send you a package with the brief. Like the brief is a description. It says pretty much this character is in this setting doing that, and they give you the reference for the setting, for the character, and for the situation, for the whatever weapon, whatever. What I like with Hearthstone is that they actually, because they kind of go wacky with the Warcraft universe, you always have to design the characters yourself a little bit. It's always kind of a weird, like for example, this dude, it's a murloc, I think is the name of the creature, and they're usually pretty skinny. Mm-hmm. He was like, can you imagine like some sort of Jabba the Hutt, kind of fat, lazy dude, say like this. And so it's nice to imagine how fat he is, how the folds of the skin, whatever, like how it's still believable, is it still like kind of belong to the, and it's nice to go back and forth with the art director like that. This one too was like the species exist, but the equipment, like this shaman sort of equipment, doesn't exist. So I enjoyed like designing all the like these little psychedelic mushrooms and stuff because it's a shaman. So vines and leaves and stuff actually growing on him. Like
just like the blue ones on the head.
Yeah, like a living pharmacy that he can just pick from. Like super fresh every time. So that's it. Like this. Yeah.
Great idea.
Some sort of thing to collect plants. Like this sort of knife, a sickle. But made of crystal, to make it more prehistoric, I guess, more, like a raw. Because this extension happened in some sort of dinosaur version of World of Warcraft, like the universe of World of Warcraft. So that's it. Yeah, some sort of dinosaur skull. It's nice to go with the designs, and sometimes they get flagged down. Sometimes it's too weird or whatever, like But it's nice to go as crazy as possible. This character, though, it's completely from the lore, like they give you the character, the dude has to be exactly like that. Even if I don't like to paint pink, this sort of dog nose with the pink over it, there's I would have done it all gray personally, but it's not at all about my taste. It's really, it has to be like this. This one too, I could improvise a little bit. It was nice. Yeah, that's when I just arrived in Japan, so I wanted to make some sort of manga sort of eyes. It passed it. Nice.
I was actually thinking about that. All the grid stuff, all the composition stuff was so structured, It was so... you understand that you spend a lot of time on this.
Yeah.
And that's why I was thinking like... do you have some kind of idea in your head when you start working and you just think it throughout the process, or you just, create something in the beginning and then just, brains off and the coloring, the rendering stuff? Or it's just mixed?
It's, yeah. Usually I start with a rough sketch. Let me see if I can find some stuff I'm not supposed to show. Like, let me see. Somewhere does here, practice. I like to do thumbnails, and later, like first is completely without perspective or anything. And if I like the idea, if I want to continue, I just now I've seen let's make it all. Let's put a perspective on top of it. That will help you, fix everything a little bit, make everything kind of more strict. But I like to start with more, well, this is just some practice. There's nothing structured. I can show you some practice pieces if you want. If that's...
Sure.
Okay. Yeah, you see, like, those two, for example, started with just this idea of contrast, put it in this way, like have a very central sort of thingy character in the middle and some super far away background. I wanted some sort of lit far away, and it started to evolving this character. Then what is interesting to do from this sort of vague prototypic stage is to invent a story on top of it. So I thought maybe it could be some sort of like super like prehistoric guy, maybe a Neanderthal guy, stumbling upon like some ancient ruins in the background, like even more ancient than his species, for example. Just, you can go, if the composition kind of works visually, if it's exciting visually, and you have this sort of raw, basic emotion of this dude being surprised or a little bit vertigo, maybe it's in a super high place. Then you can spin into, okay, why is he excited? Or because, blah, 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 like some documentary I saw or some whatever thing. Like you can just spin into whatever your imagination fancies, because everything is still pretty raw and basic, and kind of it's still very blurry, and you can model it in many different ways. What else? Let me see. This one is a bit different. I slapped a bunch of pictures. It's I think this is, the background must be from maybe Game of Thrones, some sort of screen cap from Game of Thrones. I use it just as a texture, and then I would paint on top of it, like use some colors here and there. The face is probably from a picture. That was from I think, well, it's 2014, so it's a few years ago. But yeah, it's basically a bunch of pictures. What else? That's not pictures, but yeah, still looking for a composition, some sort of central thing. It's good to try that stuff. Sometimes I like to paint clouds, so it's a good way of practicing like bounce lights and stuff like that. It's very, you can keep it super vague, but make something very literally atmospheric and very, like a nice ambience. It's very nice. You can transform, just like, when you kind of look at clouds in real life and try to imagine, figures in the sky. You can do the same with that, like just paint some sort of random vapory things. If they're lit properly, then it can suggest like anything. It can become a character, some sort of big creature, a shape, or a series of shapes. Like it can become many more things. There's some other composition research. I think that's another, it's 2014, that's another Game of Thrones bunch of things just rearranged together. If you can see this here, that's Sandor Clegane's armor. So what I did is just I took a screen cap of that dude, sketched quickly some sort of silhouette and just clipped on top of it. So it just becomes that. What else? I like just rigorous, just normal sketching too. I really like that. It's nice to alternate, I think, try many things. Like research some stuff. Another super cool, a very nice tool for sketching is very simple. It's let me just hide everything.
Yeah.
Okay, or just keep on top of it. Is to use the soft brush. This brush, like the super blurry brush. Where is it? Okay, but make it very small. It can become kind of pencil-like. You can pretty much use it as a pencil. Like when it's so small, it's very. I think I got this tip from a Fengju, episode or something, like some sort of YouTube video he did, and I was so surprised that this guy used just a soft brush for sketching, at least at the time for this video. So that's what I use for these guys. They're all just soft brush, but very, very small. It gives this soft, pencil-like quality. That is very nice. Those are all characters I tried to develop from the Elder Scrolls series. I really like that series of video games. So those are all characters from the lore. That's a very good, that's something to practice your designs. That's a very good idea, I think, to go on the web, find some, database for the game you like, all the lore, like the wiki pages, you know what I mean? And just find some remote background characters, some races that nobody spoke about before, and just go to town on that, So those are all side characters from these.
Yeah, I was right about to ask you about inspiration, but I think that you already answered the question. Actually, people are asking about the calendar on your as a wallpaper on your. Yeah, just can you tell us a bit about that?
Sure.
Is it your type of time management or just a notes, or how do you use this?
Yeah, it's sorry, I'm just opening it on Photoshop because it's a thing I do like every month. I just plan up, or as soon as I get a task, I just open this thing on Photoshop, and I just note, everything down, like whatever, stuff like that, just in red is my deadlines or stuff I'm supposed to send for checkup, and in white is things I need to do at a certain time. So this IA sketch, I need to do it like between Wednesday and Sunday before I'm going to work on something else, and after on something else. I'm working on a cinematic for Hearthstone, like for the trailers. They do these 2D, semi-animated things.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So I'm super happy they invited me to do a few of these. So that's it. I actually didn't note it down, but all the empty space that is not this, it's just going to be working on this cinematic. That's it.
It's I don't know. For me, it's hard to be a freelancer because I'm always procrastinating and sitting and watching on the walls. Mm-hmm. How do you organize your time in this case? Because a lot of people asking actually in the chat the same questions, like time management, the pipeline, how do the sports and things like that. Just if it's not hard for you, just a few words.
Okay. Well, the thing is, like, when I was before my work in the studio, I couldn't really work so well. I mean, I was just practicing at home, like, just sit in my room and just paint and stuff. But of course, very quickly you can be distracted by video games and stuff like that. That's a big problem. Like, I love video games, but I just cannot play them. It's too time consuming. It's too, I don't know. Especially now, I've got enough stuff going on that it's more exciting to work than to play. But before, in the more formative years, and you need to rework hard and not be distracted, it's a big problem. Yeah. So, I mean, there's no secret. Just uninstall these games, get rid of them, and just paint. Because I know a lot of people who are my age now, and they just wasted too much time on the games, and they're not anywhere near what they wanted to become as an artist. It's a very big problem. So, and as soon as possible, try to get into a studio, as an in-house, even just as an intern, as a junior artist, even if they pay you with with nothing, just kicks in the ass. It's still good to be professional as early as possible. My first couple of years at the studio, it was like super hard, like super demanding. The deadlines always shortened as much as possible. If they could see that you could do something like 2 days earlier, they're just, just send it down. The clients will be happier. And even if it's, you always want something, you always want more time. But it's nice to be like introduced to the professional standards as early as possible. This way, when you're out and you're a freelancer, you cannot fuck up anymore. I mean, you're on your own, and you're like, I better wake up at some time that it's not crazy, because all my friends, my former colleagues at the studio, they're not wasting their time. They're all like working hard. So at first it's a bit hard, but when the work comes, then you really want to wake up early. They're like, I can't wait to, for example, I try to wake up as early as possible. Like at 5:30, I wake up. Not the last few days. I kind of slacked off a little bit, but my resolution for 2018, guys, was 5:30 every morning, which I uphold for a few weeks, up till recently. And I found out that between 5:30 and noon, I can get almost a whole day of work done. and the rest of the day I can just work also, but more relaxed, and I can do more things like go to sports. I like climbing. I've always liked climbing, and I go like to the climbing gym twice a week. And it's very nice.
Sorry, I was just right about to ask where did you find the mountains in Japan, and I thought that this probably was, but it was a joke. Yeah, just sorry, but yeah, I just realized that we didn't ask you any questions about Japan, and there's a guy, I suppose, who asked you.
Actually, I asked about Japan.
Oh, okay.
But we didn't talk a lot about this. I didn't hear any, culture. I don't know, shocks probably, because as far as I know that Japan is quite shocking for those guys who came from Europe and the Western guys, right? And actually we have a guy who asked us, can you tell Arthur hi from Level Up Hangouts? And also, can he talk about his life as a freelancer in Japan a bit? And you just actually mostly told us about that you are in Japan working as a freelancer, but I don't think you said anything about, I don't know, how much it differs from where you lived before. What's the most interesting? Is there any kind of, how to say it, differences for maybe industry? I know that you're working as a freelancer, but maybe you asked, to do some work for Japan companies or something like that.
Yeah,
you can tell about it as well.
Sure. Well, we got our first client a couple months ago. It's a Gung Ho. It's a Japanese company that did a few. Well, maybe I can pull it up on the internet. Let me see. Gung Ho. They did a Puzzle and Dragon. It's this game. Anyway, so that's what they're most known for. It's a sort of Candy Crush / Pokemon kind of game. Anyway, I mean, it was from years ago. It was their big success, and now they're doing like they're in the growth phase again. So they want to release new games and get back to those glory days, I guess. And they asked us to do some design, so it's very nice, but it's super different from Western companies because it's very very old school structure. I think like we had to go visit them in their headquarters, even though we live super far away, and for like very serious meetings. But like it's pretty stiff, and like like. It's pretty. I don't know. I felt a bit awkward. Like everything was pretty clear, but I don't know. It's like Japanese manners are very, very. You can tell right away. Like when you're in a conference room with Japanese people, there's not this. Okay, let's chill out. Let's relax. Let's kind of break the ice a little bit. It's super, super formal, even for guys who are, younger. Younger than 40 years old and have been working in the game industry for a long time. It's still super rigid, based on seniority, based on like a very like standardized form of manners. Which I mean, it's not, the basics are not too hard to understand. Like most people kind of know the basics, like bowing and all stuff like that. But it's still pretty tense. Like you get pretty sweaty in this conference room, and even like when we're done and we're like, okay, so guys, all right, so let's keep in touch, see you later, please send us your sketches, blah blah blah. They would just wait. They would just accompany us to the elevator and open the elevator, and then just bow until we're in the elevator and the doors are closed, and everybody's bowing until the doors are closed, and then I don't know, it's so stiff. It's just super stiff. It's just thinking about it, my armpits are sweating.
The apple.
Some studies. I really like these sort of studies. They're super important. Like everybody should do this. I think they make you very autonomous. In terms of designing your own poses. some silhouette stuff. And but about the life in Japan in general, it's very nice, very convenient. It's very exotic, but at the same point super comfortable. So it's a very interesting mix. And people who get used to life in Japan, they don't want to leave usually, because it's, I don't know, you just get used to a certain quality of service. Everything is very immediate, very on time, punctual. So going back to France, you feel like everybody's on holiday or on strike or something, and nothing gets done. It's super weird. But Japanese people are super shy, super in their bubble. Nobody's like, people are super respectful of each other, which is nice, very polite. But it's also very cold and a very lonely place, I think. Some days I feel like, I mean, if it wasn't for my girlfriend and for the few foreign friends I have, I think I would feel very lonely. I know a few foreigners who don't have many friends, or who for a period of time didn't have many friends, and it's hard to strike up conversations with Japanese, because Japanese people they travel a lot inland. Like they really, like in the last few centuries, after Japan became more peaceful as a country, in itself, the inside tourism grew a lot. So there's a lot of like little attractions to see, a lot of little festivals, cultural, things, little villages, beautiful sites, a lot of local restaurants and inns, like little hotels, little traditional hotels called ryokan, and those make for wonderful holidays. Like when you go on vacation, you can just hop from city to city, little villages, even neighborhoods, and you always have very highly developed touristic activities. But as a culture, Japanese are very literally insular. Like they're very they're an island culturally, so they have a hard time relating to each other, to other cultures, I think. Especially because their own culture is highly ritualized and sophisticated in a specific way. There's things you're expected to do in life. Your steps, your development, the way you're supposed to address your husband or your wife, what you're supposed to expect from them, what you're supposed to expect from your parents, from random people. That is it's very codified. And so as if you come from a more spontaneous culture, like Western cultures, Latin cultures, even Russians have I know a few Russians, you guys are, straightforward, barely covers it.
You were trying
You're
to be
absolutely right, my comrade. You're absolutely right.
Which is, in itself, it makes for a very warm culture, it's a lovely culture, you know what I mean? But when you go to a country where people shy away from this, and I've tried to make friends. I was with this Polish guy in a bar, and it was my first month in Japan, and we're at this bar and we're just chit-chatting, and it's only next to us, because bars are super small and crowded, these two young guys about our age, salary guys, with their ties off a little bit, after work, but super young. So they're having a beer, and we kind of, the groups look at each other a little bit, and we start just chit-chatting. Hey guys, hey, cheers. And we start being super loud, and I started being super, jokey, a bit like a buffoon a little bit, and just ask them 1,000 questions. And they start, they really blushed and stood super stiff, and they went to the barman and said, yeah, this guy's crazy, we're afraid of this guy. I'm a skinny little French dude, and these guys were scared of me. It was crazy. We were kicked out by the barman. It's guys, I'm sorry, maybe you should go. And my Polish friend, who's been here for 12 years, just left his ass off. He's dude, you did nothing wrong, but it's hilarious to see that it didn't happen to him in 12 years. Oh my God. It was so embarrassing. And just the more I saw them climbing up, I was the more open and jovial I tried to be, and the more it put them in this corner until they couldn't take it anymore, and they had us kicked out. It's just nuts.
Yeah, and just about the Russians, the guys in the chat, I think from Level Up Hangout chat or something, they say oh my God, you guys react to his stories, the awkward silences. And for those who are watching us for the first time, we're trying to turn off our microphones while the speaker is speaking. Sorry for full phrase, but still it's not the awkward silence. We just don't want to make the background noise, because then on the records it's sometimes we have some problems. So we just it's not like we are not listening to you. Please don't think about
And to our friends from Level Up, actually all Russians have a special ability. When we turn on our Russian accent, we're just actually turn off our souls. when we will speak like this, mein comrade, we actually lost our souls. And now tell us about next question, please. Sorry for this. Tell us about can you tell us about the most ridiculous or strange story related to your work when you start? Can you tell stuff like this?
Sure.
Thanks.
Okay. Where can I start? There's a few, but okay. For example, the way I started working for Blizzard, right? I think it's so I worked for these guys for the studio for a while. Like I was in Thailand, I was in-house artist, and what else? What I was gonna say? Yeah, I just want to keep showing some studios or whatever. And I was like, okay, I left the studio, but when I came back to France to be a freelancer, they kept sending me work for Hearthstone. And after a while, I was like, I mean, it was nice. It was very nice of them to do, but I could realize I could feel that because I didn't live in the best terms, not too hostile, but especially with the boss, not the best terms, like a little bit of, oh, where are you living now? You cannot leave now. Just wait until blah, blah, blah. And because they were a bit short and stuff, like, no, I mean, man, I'm leaving. This is it. Like, I have to go back to home and stuff. Oh, okay. Like, it was pretty cool. Like, since after I left, they didn't talk to me at all. A few months passed, and then they started sending me work. Like, hey, Arthur, how have you been? Blah, blah, blah. Would you like to work with us still a little bit? I said, sure. They sent me some work from Hearthstone, but they pay super small, like pretty low. And I'm not stupid. A big company doesn't pay so low, so I knew they were taking a cut somewhere. And so it works for a while. But then I was like, okay, I'm gonna make the move. I'm just gonna ask all these guys, all these artists on the internet that I know work for Hearthstone, how can I get in touch directly with the art director so I can skip this middleman dude? I just want to know the prices, I just want to see what it's like.
That's absolutely okay. Yeah.
So, and the guys were super supportive. Like the other artists, oh yeah, man, absolutely. They were supportive. So I knew, I was doing it right. And so I get in touch with the dude, and he says, the art director says, sure, but just clear things up with your art director, with your former art director, that dude who gave you the work. Just clear things up so, things can happen properly. So I go back to this guy on Skype, this Thai guy from the studio. I say, hey, Can, his name is. I got this opportunity. I was a little bit sneaky. I had this opportunity to work directly with Blizzard, and I'm gonna take it. And silence, fucking radio silence. He goes straight to he went straight to the dude. He said, hey, what do you mean he's gonna work for you? And he comes back to me and says, hey, dude, I just talked to the guy, and it's not at all like you really are a fucking sneaky motherfucker. You're a backstabber, man, and that doesn't come from me. Meaning the dude actually called you a backstabber, the guy from Blizzard. And I mean, all kinds of sweat started pouring from everywhere from me. I was like, fuck, oh my God, I fucking screwed it. Like, I'm an idiot. Like, such an immature move. Oh, sorry, by the way, I swore. I'm sorry. We're not supposed to swear, right? I'm sorry.
You're allowed to, don't worry about that.
It's not a problem, really.
Not about the politics, not about the religion, and all this kind of stuff. We are 18 plus, so that's okay.
Okay. So, I mean, basically, just I just cut my little wings with his harsh speak. He's like, oh, no, dude, you fucked up. This is so crazy. Why did you try? Blah blah blah. So I go back to the Blizzard guy and say, I write him an email. Said, dude, I realized I fucked up. So I guess that's a good lesson for me. hope, blah, 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 maybe in the future, blah, 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 But, I just cut my losses. And the dude just answers me. He's like, no, it's fine. It's just fine. I just wanted you to clear things up with the guy. So actually that was fine. Like I was not in trouble at all. Like that was just, this dude, the Thai guy, just tried to one last time discourage me by making me believe like he's super close friend with the dude and I really fucked everything up and blah, blah, blah. Meanwhile, that guy from Blizzard doesn't give a fuck about anything. It is fine. Like whether he sends the work to him or to me, it's fine for him. He just wanted me to clear things up. So as a freelancer, like isolated in my little room, I went through like all ups and downs and emotions and stuff. And I was like, oh my God, what? I don't know. It's just, freelance can be just, I don't know, you're by yourself imagining all kinds of scenarios. And meanwhile, nobody's really freaking out in any way, shape or form. And and those moves are pretty tricky. Like when you try to kind of cut a middle guy or an agent or something, it's legitimate. You have the right to do this. I think it's natural growth, in your own career. But there's definitely some risk to it, and if they're nasty, they can really fuck you up. Because one of the artists for Blizzard, another guy, I think he's an Italian guy. He's not directly working for them either. He has an agent. And he told me when I contacted everybody, all these artists at Blizzard, to say, this guy told me, okay, I cannot directly put you in touch with the art director of Hearthstone because I don't know him, but I can put you in touch with my agent. His agent was this person from the US who started like right away, like, are you free? Are you still free? Like blah, blah, blah. Like she contacted me right away. I can put you in touch with these guys, but then later with other guys, like she started promising me like all sorts of stuff. And I was putting her aside a little bit, like waiting to see if I could go directly with the art director. I was still doing all my sneaky moves and stuff. Finally, when it worked out, I was ready to answer her, but she answered me like just because I waited a few days, like maybe 2 days. She just sent me this fucking napalm email. How dare you blow me off? You didn't answer. You're fucking. Do you think the art directors from Blizzard, from this, do you think they will like that when they learn about this? Like everybody tries to burn you. Like when you don't go through these guys, these agents, when you don't go their way, they really have no problem trying to send fucking nuclear torpedoes to sink your little ship. They have no problem about it. But what I learned from this person and my former agent as well is that it's mostly wind. Like nobody cares. Like these bigger clients, they don't care at all. They really are. They don't have these agents don't have so much weight that they can actually do that. They just try to threaten you into going through them. Into just submitting, and they want to like vampires. They want to scare you into leaving their fold. Mm-hmm. And it's all bullshit. That's what I want to say to like younger artists. Like if anybody threatens to down your career, they're probably not big enough to do that.
It just reminds me all those options in RPG games, mm-hmm. when you have to choose like the strength, not the cunning, the charisma, all these kind of options, and these guys prefer to to threaten you instead of being nice and polite.
Yeah.
And by the way, do you think the community? I'm not talking about the agents, of course, but in general, our community. Do you think it's become more toxic or not?
Well, you gotta be above the clouds a little bit. You cannot. You see, there's the thing. Like professional artists, we're very helpful with each other because like every pro artist, like legitimately professional artists I've been in contact with have been super nice to me. I've never been ever, and I've contacted a lot of people. I've never been turned down by anybody for a tip, for something, like some people sometimes, maybe because I have too much questions, like, hey, how much do we get paid for this and that? Sometimes it's, but for legitimate moves, like trying to, be by yourself without an agent, most artists are, oh yeah, sure, man, no problem, whatever I can do. Like, but there's a big pool of, amateur artists, which I guess, a lot of your listeners might be in. you gotta start to isolate yourself from this a little bit. Like, try to just listen to the most optimistic people, not because they're wishy-washy or hippie or whatever, but just because it just saves you a lot of headache for nothing. A lot of amateur artists are insecure. It's normal. I mean, we were all insecure. I mean, but a lot of them are cruel as a result. They are cruel to other people. They will flag you down. They see your piece, your super amateur piece on Facebook, and this is wrong, that is wrong, blah blah blah. They really, they have no problem because they feel like they need to somehow put people down to feel a little higher. But any proper artist I've talked to, they're not even. It's an autistic level of isolation. They just paint, they do their thing. When they're good enough, they're recruited by people. That's all. Don't worry about the competition at the low level. It's 80% of the people who just at a beginner level will stay there. Only the most dedicated will make it. Of course, it's a very honest industry. It's based on visual quality, so there's not you cannot cut corners really. You cannot strategize in a way that like it's very straightforward. So just focus on your level and forget this toxic, like you mentioned, like I've seen a little bit, these toxic interactions between amateur artists. It's so unnecessary. It's very, I don't know, it can make you feel even more insecure than you need to be.
Okay, the next interesting question from our chat: what was the most difficult thing that you had to do? What was the picture that working out the hardest for you?
The hardest work for a picture?
Yes, the hardest work for the picture, and what's the most difficult thing you had to do in your career?
It was this one. Let me show you. These two pieces, it's for cinematic, for Hearthstone, and there's just a ton of characters, and there was a lot of changes. It was, and the deadlines are pretty stiff, and there was just a lot of changes and a lot of characters that need to interact, and there was two levels for this. There's one without the characters. It's at the beginning of the trailer. And then later in the trailer, we see the same scene again, but this time some colors are different. A bunch of characters are happening. They're all interacting, and there's a lot of light sources. But I still use the trick, but it still takes a lot of time, and you need to balance out, to somehow harmonize, make it look all kind of like it belongs in the same picture. Because with this direct approach, with the vanishing points and everything, like this very technical approach, you can kind of miss the global, more artistic harmony that it needs to have. If you're too factual with your process, you may miss the more aesthetic necessity. So yeah, I think that's the most difficult piece. It's a pretty high resolution. You needed a lot of like little details everywhere. So yeah, I think that's the most difficult. I also have problems sometimes because I have two, three clients at the same time, and sometimes the schedule, I think I can take a lot of work at the same time because, I think it's fine with my schedule, but actually, suddenly it will all pile up together and I'm fucked for a week, or just sometimes for a month. Yeah, that's about it. It's mostly schedule problems. Hello?
Okay, we're here. We have about 5 or 7 minutes at least.
Okay.
So, first of all, in the end,
I can choose too.
Yeah. In the other stream, first, give some advices for the beginners artists, for the newbies. Can you give some really maybe free advice that you can advise yourself 10 years ago, things like this?
Okay. Try to become hired by a company as early as possible. That's my point. Don't wait too much. I see a lot of kids, especially today's, you can be pretty much self-taught, you can convince yourself that you can be totally self-taught because it's a comforting idea that, if you just buy enough tutorials and if you just do this and that, and, you'll get pro and then you'll get hired by the big leagues. But it's much better. Try to make a portfolio, like some viable portfolio, something where you can get into like even a small level or mid-level studio, even just as an intern for a few months, because even if you stay 1 week there and then they kick you out, this 1 week will like change your life. Like it will change like painting professionally as you think about it, Suddenly you're surrounded by artists, a lot of them are better than you, most likely. You have deadlines, you have to show up for work, you have to there's just this level of pressure, but it's a good pressure. It's a pressure that it gives you impulse. You're not just left by yourself, because I know a lot of amateur artists who are really wait for years and just painting, chilling, half painting, half playing video games, chilling in their parents' basement, until they realize it's a bit late, until they're like, fuck, what am I doing? So yeah, try to find some place, even if it's like they do like phone games, if it's not something you want to do your whole life, like nothing is definite anyway, so just try anything you can, because the entrance into the professional art is not this limit, oh, I'm a pro artist, that's fine. No, it's a very continuous gray zone. You can come in and out of it, and there's various ways of enter the professional side of art. So that's it. Yeah, try to become a professional try to get a job as early as possible, even if it's you do pixel art for whatever, or for some phone game. Even if it's not like a very menial task, it's still something. If you can stay, you might get some traction and if you're good, if you practice, if you get good enough, you will be, by the way, you will be encouraged and stimulated by your colleagues, and by your seniors. So you can get much more education from having 6-7 good colleagues than just by yourself with like all the tutorials of the world, on Gumroad. These people will give you like the most useful tips. You can see how they deal with the pressure, how they deal with deadlines, what brush they use, whatever, the technique, their textures and stuff. Even if you by yourself, you're just a pixel artist in a corner, and doing nothing, paid with nothing, And if you apply these, like this is much more encouraging, and that will make you progress much faster than if you're by yourself. And eventually you can get access to better jobs within the studio, get to do some illustrations for comic books or whatever. And also you will be forced by your art director to do stuff that you would never do by yourself, which is the best way to progress. If you're just by yourself, you can just do whatever your favorite topic is forever, and nobody will ever question you, And if somebody does, you just think he's a hater, and you block him. So yeah, that's about it.
So...
And try to do challenges too, by the way. Like online challenges are super useful. This is stuff I did.
Online challenges, yeah, that's great. What online challenges you like the most? Maybe from Comic-Con or things like this?
The ones I did was conceptart.org. They have like a character of the week. So these are stuff I did for character of the week. Like they used to be like, now it's just a character, you just need to draw the front view of a character. But before they used to be like, I really enjoyed that. Like, you need to do a character sheet, like some designs and some thumbnails and everything. I really liked it.
Great. Oh, character sheets. Oh,
Yeah.
interested.
Yeah.
Really great. What challenges in this year you wanna choose?
What challenges this year?
What challenges in this year you wanna grow?
This year, you mean art challenges or just life challenges?
Our challenges, yes. Our challenges, actually, yeah.
I don't do many. There's one challenge in September. I don't know, some digital thing on a website. I don't even remember the name, but that, you know, my girlfriend and I, we were invited to participate. So it's in September. I think I will finish this piece, this sorcerer piece. For it, I would like to do that. It's nice. It's already pretty much, you know, the composition is all there. I just need to come up with some nice colors and finish it up. And by September, it can be totally ready, I think. So that's my next art challenge. Yeah. And besides that, for the company, we want to keep getting better. I mean, we already have very nice clients, but we want to, you know, I guess grow, just save money, get paid better, you know, the whole deal.
Okay, good. We just don't hear the Alice because her microphone may be broken or internet. That's sad. So our stream is coming to end. So thank you so much. Really, it's so amazing information in this live stream.
Okay.
Thank you so much for this. So we're your hosts, Alice and Alex, and our amazing guest, Arthur. Thank you so much, and stay tuned. You can say bye.
Well, bye, guys. Take care.
Bye-bye.